Good afternoon, everyone. This is Moshe Frank. I have the honor and pleasure to be speaking to Ellie Weber from Ellie Weber Media. The first time I met Ellie was I was chasing down, stalking Michoel Schnitzler on 2nd Street in Lakewood at Hot Bagels to see if I get a little shout out for my Spritzly drink, you know, a little Genevish celebrity endorsement. And there he was having lunch with the great Ellie Weber. Then after, obviously I've come to learn, and as many people have seen many of the videos of Reb Michoel, how a lot of them were filmed by you, done by you, and have a lot of them with you in it. So Ellie, if you could tell us how you first met Reb Michoel, how many years ago, how long ago, what happened?
Yeah. So I met Michoel the first time was 7 years ago. We actually booked him for my father's birthday party. And while the party was going on, we were singing songs together. I sang with him. And then we immediately connected. He saw how much I loved his music, and I told him how much I love his music and his personality. So we exchanged numbers and we started talking very often. He also, at that time, I opened up a Twitter account where I was posting pictures and videos from him, from his weddings that he was singing at, and posting his recordings, just like a fan page. And eventually he asked me to also open up a YouTube channel and to update his website, to do a lot of things for him with the purpose of being able to spread the light and love and the music so that people around the world can enjoy it.
So I know you also did inspirational messages. You did both, the music and the inspirational stuff?
So the inspirational videos he actually took himself at that time, but I then later became his manager as well. So I was in charge of, I was helping him with the last few albums, and whenever we would have a big wedding with a band, I would arrange a list of songs that was best known, that Michoel enjoyed singing. As well as just driving him around, and a social media manager as well.
So was he your first social media client before all your fancy clients you have today?
Basically, yes. He was my first client, and he actually put me into business because I was thinking what to do, and he told me, you have a passion and a hobby and you're very good at social media. So he helped me get my first client, and Baruch Hashem, now it's a successful business.
For people who are not in the Hasidic music world, how would you classify him in terms of, I don't know?
Right. So I actually had this challenge today. Somebody asked me about him. It was actually Yankee Markowitz. He asked me, I said I didn't know Michoel, and I was trying to explain to him who this person was. Now that he's not with us anymore, people are not as much, speaking about his music and about his career or his legacy. They're very much talking about who he was as a person. And to explain who he was as a person, the only way to explain it is somebody that gave away his everything to another person. His sole purpose was to put a smile on the face of somebody hurting. And he went, to a certain extent we all try to do that, but he went out of his way to do it. I know this winter, for example, he traveled all the way up to almost Canada to a prison to meet one, to meet one Jew over there that was sitting there. And it was a whole process of what he had to go through to get in with COVID testing, and it's not easy to get into a prison, but he did it for one Jew. And that's what he did all his life, with going to hospitals, meeting so many children that needed to be besimcha. That was his, and yes, he did use the fact that he was famous and that he was a celebrity to make these people happy. And whenever a tragedy would happen, he would go and he would call, if it was the children of, let's say, they lost parents, or parents that lost children, or a child, he would call them and just say, hi, hello, this is Michoel Schnitzler, I just want to tell you that I love you. That was the type of person that Michoel Schnitzler was. He was somebody that was constantly trying to see how he didn't try, he actually did it. He was a person that was always out there to help another person, to make them feel good.
So was he a wedding singer or an album singer? Did other people sing his songs? Because I don't know his genre that much. That's what I'm asking.
Right. So going back 35 years ago, he was actually at an event. It was a Simchas Bais Shaiva, and he was a little bit famous from before, from just like acting at a play, or people loved him in general. And then at one event, there was no singers at that time. There was just musicians. But some people asked him, go take the mic, sing a little bit. So he stood up with his back to the audience because he was so shy, and he started singing. But the crowd just went wild. And one person came over to him afterwards and said, I want you to sing at my kid's wedding. And he said, yeah, okay, no problem. The day of the wedding, he gets a call, and the person says, am I seeing you tonight? Are you gonna sing? He said, I totally forgot. I thought you were joking. This is not what I do. I'm a manager at Amazing Savings. You want me to sing? And he said, I'm not coming. And then that person's wife called and said, you have to come. We don't have a singer. We were counting on you. So he ended up going, and the place was on fire. As soon as he finished singing, 3 other people came up to him and said, you're singing at our kid's wedding. And that's where he took he had the napkin that he was wiping his sweat on. That's the first 3 bookings that he got. And from there, it just steamrolled more and more and more.
So in the Siddush world, weddings didn't have singers until then?
So weddings didn't have singers until then.
Just a one-man band?
I mean, Avron Fried and MBD were around at that time, but they were performance singers. They did not sing at weddings that often, as far as I know. But after that happened, the Hasidic wedding singers really started coming in. You had then Lipa and Sally Gold, you had Daskal. Obviously, there's so many singers today. And he used to tell me whenever a singer went into the industry, he would call them up and wish them good luck and tell them all the tips and tricks and everything they needed to know. And this is going up until this day. Whenever a singer would give out an album or a song, I would listen to it together with him, and he would always send them a message and give them a compliment. This was I had friends from yeshiva that released songs, and Michoel would give them a compliment because he knew that they will feel good when he gives them that compliment.
So the past 3 years, Eli, we see a lot of videos together.
Yeah.
Well, how did that start?
So after a while,
What was your first video, Eli? I mean,
yeah,
you do great at video. I would say you're probably from the best interviewers I've ever seen.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I was wondering, what was your first video experience? Was it with Michoel or was it yourself?
Right. So I definitely I'm gonna say this. I mean, definitely my motivation to motivate others came from Michoel. I mean, I saw this from him and putting out the "Good morning, all beautiful people" messages, and he would say a different quote every day. So this definitely is to thank him. I took that from him. I didn't make videos up until I think like a year ago. I was in videos together with them, or I was taking the videos. I was behind the camera, I would say. But recently, since I became myself an influencer, I decided, let me make videos together with him and ask him his opinion. Because some people have very good opinions, but they don't have a place where to put it out. So going over to somebody and asking him, what would you say in this moment, or what can you say? And I actually have a lot of videos still that hasn't been released, and we'll release it over time in Mitzvah. But he was definitely part of that. He was definitely part of my reason why I became an influencer.
What was the most unique thing about him? Or do you have any interesting stories, Elliot? I mean, we spent so much time with him.
The most unique thing about him was his smile. He would always give a smile, was as if it was natural. And the most unique thing about him, in general, as a rule, what he did was that he always said life is a choice. And to him, that was the most important thing, to show people that, I once asked him, what would you tell? I asked Michoel Schnitzler, what would you tell a person that's hurting right now? And his response was, I would tell them that it's a choice, and remember that everything that happens is for the good. So move on, I understand you want to be sad, but just move on. Just be happy, just enjoy life. He always used to say, live life to the fullest. That was his style. That was the person that he was. Every day that he woke up, he was happy. excited for what's to come. Even if it was just a regular day, to him every day was special.
Can you tell some interesting, funny stories or crazy stories
So what was crazy about
or specific incidents?
so we had many specific incidents that I had together with Michoel Schnitzler. I think the most unique is the fact that he was so into giving compliments to random people. So for example, when we went grocery shopping, he would, because I was really his friend as well, not just his manager. When we went grocery shopping, he would buy with his money a chocolate for the register and give it to them as a gift. So that was something unique about Michoel. Also, if he would ever see a couple, if he would ever see a date in a restaurant, he would always go over there and tell them, "You guys look so happy together. I think you should marry each other." That was Michoel. And it wasn't just the Hasidic people that knew him. It was even just the random strangers. That was another thing. He always used to say, "What people think about me is none of my business." And that's really how he lived. So there was no second thinking that. I also know, for example, in restaurants, whenever he was in a restaurant, he would always give the waiters get a tip, but there's something called I think it's called the bust. What's it?
Bus boy.
Bust boy.
The runners.
He would always give them an extra tip of $5 or $10 just to make them feel good.
Ellie, what do you think about Lipa's hesped at the Levaya?
So Lipa is
And what was
actually
that relationship?
yes. So Lipa, I also have the honor to know Lipa a little bit, and to be his friend. I've spent a little bit of time with him, and he's a very, very special person. And their connection was really a very, very. They literally, Lipa's first song was for Michoel, and Michoel trusted Lipa, and Michoel came up with this phrase that we all say now, which is Lipa is Lipa. You know, the best way to define Lipa is by saying Lipa, because Lipa is just probably the most talented person that we have today, not just in the Jewish music industry, but as a whole. He's probably the most talented person that I know, you know, and he's so thoughtful, and he's really nice to others, and he does a lot of chesed. And so their connection really went very well together, because they were working on a lot of projects together. They spent Yom Tovim together. They did a lot of special things together. They really loved each other, and Lipa made songs for every single one of Michoel's albums. So they really got to connect not only through music, but they were personal friends as well. I think the hesped was also very, very nice, and I think it really gave closure to all those fans out there. Not just to the family, but also every random person was able to feel felt and understood through what Lipa said.
What type of, you mentioned challenges that they both experienced. What does he mean by that?
Challenges, there's life challenges in general, and which everybody experiences, but Michoel specifically was a Yusam from very young. He lost his father. And then just he didn't have an easy life, you know, not in yeshiva, not you know, through the years he lived in many different places, or I don't know if he had stories with his children, with Moisdes, you know, there were difficulties, but he never showed it, because he really he understood that pain is part of life, and that struggles happen, but it's all about how we see it.
Why do you move around so much? What was his parnasa was mostly in New York, no? So
right.
Where did he move to, or?
So I think for many, many years he lived in Seagate. I think Seagate was just, you know, at that time it wasn't as popular, so he moved to Borough Park. But I'm not sure why he moved. Somebody said because his real home was in his heart, you know, and wherever he was, that was where he felt comfortable. And he also taught me that, to remember that the only person we need is ourselves and our own support. We don't need anybody to make us happy or feel good. All we need is ourselves. And as long as we have ourselves, you say, I have myself and the Rabbeinu Shalom. He really felt the God within him, and he was always happy no matter what.
Was he not well in his later years?
So I know that he went very often to doctors to check himself out. I know that he was a very healthy person with what he was eating and what he was doing, and or if he had to take medication, he would take that. But I know that his heart was a little bit was
He had too much
not
on
the
it.
best.
Too much
maybe,
on it.
Maybe Pinky Weber said that he had such a soft heart that even his heart he gave away.
And I saw some Twitter that someone reported that he wasn't alive a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
No, somebody made a joke
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I didn't divide.
Right. So that's a story. That's a real story that happened. That somehow somebody put out a rumor, which shows us the world we live in, that he's not alive. And
This was a couple of years ago.
it's actually for us here in New York. We didn't really experience this story because it happened during the night, which was daytime in Israel. It really happened in Israel. So for us, it was just a joke afterwards. But for him, it was a real scare. Why is everybody? He got so many messages and stuff like that. That people were crying that he's not alive.
He got messages, but
Exactly, he got the message because it was a rumor. That was a real rumor, but it's beautiful how he took the humor in it, and he even mentions it in one of his songs. He took the humor of it, and then he said, "I'm just grateful that yes, I am alive, and I can be here and be Mesamach other people."
I heard another story going around about that he had a near-death experience. Did he tell you about that?
Yes, he
Can you
did.
tell us about that?
This was a few years ago when he had I think it was open heart surgery, and he
So tell us about the near-death experience story.
so he basically had an open heart surgery, and they actually told him that he has a bigger chance of not coming out than and he said that he wasn't here for about 8 minutes, and that he feels that Hashem sent him down here to be Mesamach more people. So he was really living the last few years so grateful that he's here. He was so happy, but it was a scare. And Klal Yisrael was davening for him, and back then everybody thought that it's Michoel Schnitzler. We all need him. We can't live without him. And now here we are.
How long did he do his inspirational videos for?
He did it for many years, putting it out himself, just saying good morning, all beautiful people. And he also did many quotes that are still on his Instagram feed, at Michoel Schnitzler. And then eventually became a little bit more active with working on new music, so he got more into that, but he was always motivating and constantly putting out positive messages.
Someone earlier today asked him about Michoel, someone slightly special needs. So Michel's a good friend of mine. He said, "Oh, so how did you meet him?" He said, "Oh, he once sang in Crown Heights for Almunas and Yisayim, and that's how he met him." And this person felt like he was his best friend.
Yes.
Obviously, he met him at a situation of Almunas and Yisayim.
Yeah. So I also know of a not healthy child that for the past 25 years, Michoel has called her every single Erev Shabbos. And I was with the family yesterday, and they keep on calling her because she can't take it. So they keep on calling her from the family and trying to make her feel better and to tell her how they feel her pain. But he had a specific connection with every individual, and that's why it's a little bit difficult now for one another to understand each other, because to everybody he was something else. To one, he was a father, he was a grandfather, he was a friend, he was a brother, to some he was their doctor, their therapist, the person that they looked up to. He meant something else to everybody. And the reason for that is because he really valued every person. He was able to see a person and understand right away, what does this person need. That was his specialty. He really connected with his whole heart to every human being.
Very cool. So, anything else you want to add, Eli? Closing words.
Yeah, this was a beautiful story that I
And you hold on. I just want to clarify. The past 3 years, you were with him what, every other day, every day?
almost every other day, and we spoke every day, yes, because he was living in Jackson and I live in Toms River, so we were like 15-20 minutes apart. And he also came to, he was very close to my family. He used to come to us, you know, for dinner almost every Sunday night. Sometimes Motzei Shabbos, sometimes randomly. Hanukkah this year, we spent 2 nights together. We had 2 Hanukkah parties in our house. So we were very, very close to him. Like I said, I never felt like I'm his manager. I felt like I was his friend. And we used to talk about everything possible, even about dating and about life and about perspective.
What were some dating tips, Ellie? Gave you some dating advice?
He actually did. That was it's a funny question. It's an interesting question because yes, I mean I went out 3-4 weeks ago and I remember telling him about the girl and he listened so kindly. He was a very good listener, and I remember he told me that that I should go out again. Yeah, that was his advice, like to give another chance. You know. He was always about finding the wow. You know, he used to tell me, Ellie, you're gonna find the wow. And he to him, life, everything was amazing. Everything had to be amazing. You know, that's how he always dressed nicely. He always made sure to eat good and healthy food. He always made sure to really enjoy his day. He always made sure to tune out from negative stuff, just to stay positive and in the moment and to enjoy himself.
Was he considered mainstream like Stage Developed or
So he was the
a little
first.
bit edgy like Lipa?
He was considered very mainstream. He did have one song that mentioned about yeshivas, so it touched, you know, a little bit of a sensitive topic for some people. It was a little bit triggering to them, but he was very, very much accepted all throughout by everybody. So that's.
Did he compose his own music or no?
He actually did compose a few songs. Nobody really knows about this. There is an album, like a collection album, where he did semi-compose a few songs, and I don't really remember which one of the. I would have to check. Maybe it says in the album cover, but he did have a passion. By the way, all the songs that Pinky Weber made for him, they actually composed together while sitting together. So he always added his. It was Pinky's song, but he always added his flavor and his warmth to the composition itself.
I found it interesting the way he sings. It's similar to Lipa. They like tell a story, you know?
Yes. So he was to say that the reason why his Yiddish stories are so successful is because he becomes the father, the mother, the child, the Rebbe. He becomes the actual character in the song. And now I can understand why, because not only did he have some pain in his life, but he also understood pain from others. He understood what a mother goes through when they lose a child. He understood all these pains because he used to talk to those people and try to be them mechazik. Michoel's phone was open and public to everybody. Whoever wanted was able to call them. And he would record messages or voice notes to anybody that asked him. If it was for a birthday or a siyum or somebody didn't feel well, he would happily record you right away a video saying, "Hi, this is Michoel Schnitzler. I just want to tell you that Mazel Tov on your thing," or Refiya Shalayma, or congratulations. That was him.
Wow. And how did he handle all the new young singers jumping into the market?
He handled them very, very nicely. He was really supportive of them. He was friends with each and every one of them. And like I said, when they gave out new music, he learned their songs to be able to sing them at weddings, or he would call them and compliment them. He really got along with every new singer, even not only the newer, bigger singers, but also the newer singers that were just like really young, like 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. He would always give them compliments and you know.
Was he singing even when he lived in Florida, or he took off?
So yes, he was singing in Florida. There were many jobs that he had in Florida itself, but he also came in many times, and I used to pick him up from the airport, and I was so happy to see him. And we did. There's a few events that's known, which was he came in. He surprised his brother Hanania when he made a simcha. He surprised Rafi the King when Rafi the King made his big siyum. I think the video is now circulating on social media. He went there and they basically in the middle of the siyum they said that they're going to put Michoel on the phone, and Michoel's gonna sing a song from Florida. So Rafi's on the phone supposedly with Michoel, and they're like, hello, yeah, which song do you want? And he says a Matzah Neuven, and Michoel says, okay, no problem, let's sing a Matzah Neuven. And he starts singing a Matzah Neuven Aran, and Michoel just walks in, and Rafi thought he was in shock. So that was a story like that. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Eli, for your time, and thank you for documenting so much inspiration with Michoel and
Right.
sharing it with the world.
My biggest pleasure. And Michoel, in my eyes and my perspective, Michoel is more alive than ever. And I'm not in denial. I know he's not here with us, but his legacy is alive and his soul is alive. And yeah, oh, exactly. But I didn't mean it in that way. I meant in his way, that he wasn't afraid of dying, and he wasn't he wanted to be remembered for somebody that has that love and passion. And his music very much is alive, and his motivation and his quote and all the mitzvahs and chesed that he did is still here with us, and is still an inspiration for many, many years to come.
Thank you so much, Eli. Thank you for your
Pleasure.
time.
Thank you, Moshe.
God bless.